All right, guys, so let's talk about how to ship your product directly from your manufacturer to an Amazon FBA warehouse. And just for example's sake, we're just going to use a Chinese supplier for today, okay? Because that's typically where a lot of your products are going to be coming from. So I have this written out. This is all down below, so you can kind of follow along. I just wanted to actually have this, for you to make it a lot easier, okay? So there's two options that I want to just talk about really quickly. So I highly recommend actually shipping your product directly to an Amazon FBA warehouse. And I made the mistake the first time where I actually shipped it to myself because I wanted to see it. I was excited and I get that. But the samples you got, honestly, are gonna be like the same thing that you actually have. And you're just adding time to actually selling your product. All right, so I highly recommend sending it directly to an Amazon FBA warehouse so you can start selling sooner, so you can start recouping your money and start making money and start building your business, okay? So on another shipment, maybe you can deviate some to come to you and look at it then, but right out of the gate, I recommend just sending it directly there so you can start making money. That being said, let's jump into this, okay? So when you're here, you're gonna come to manage inventory, all right? And obviously you guys know we made this whole account, all right? So this is something that we've all put together at this point, all right? So we're gonna come down here and we're gonna go to send replenish inventory, all right? So this is all, like I said, laid out, that's all over here, right here for us, okay? So this is what you're doing. So when I come over here, you can see this is a ship from, okay? So this is actually an address that I literally just pulled from one of the Alibaba suppliers, all right? But actually talk to your supplier and ask them, to help you fill out all these things. Because as you can see in here, all right, so you can see that we're gonna you can type in, China, right? And again, this is a made up, it's one I pulled from some random actual supplier, but you're gonna put in the actual name, all right? So sometimes these companies have like multiple names, so just ask them what they actually want in here, and find out like the correct actual street address and find out all of this information from your supplier, right? So we've already talked about contacting them to figure out an approximate weight, and we've already talked to them about, figuring out the approximate dimensions, and we wanna be able to get all this information from them because we're gonna need this as we walk through this, okay? So let's just talk about that really quickly, but we're gonna use this address for this example. So here's kind of what this is going to bring you to. All right, so individual products, this is really something we're not going to use. All right, this is when you have numerous, like different, basically SKUs in different types of products that are in different conditions in the same packaging. Whereas in case packed, all right, so we're going to come here, and this is when it's all the same SKU, all the same product, and they're all in the same condition. So in our case, obviously it's going to be new, and we're all shipping in the exact same product. It's just numerous units, okay? So then you're going to continue into your shipping plan. All right, so what this is going to do is it's going to bring you to this page here. All right, so you're going to set the quantity. And here's the biggest thing, right? So we are going to basically break down that we need 3 different things before we can ship this out. And if we jump back over here really quickly, I just want to show you. So there is the UPC code, which is going to be, I highly recommend integrating it into your box design. Okay, so that's on every single unit. And then you're going to need basically your master carton label. And what a master carton label is that you have basically big boxes that have cases inside of them. And as you can see, we just actually select the case pack. So in that, there's units per case, and then there's number of cases. And basically what Amazon does though is they don't really acknowledge the actual master carton, which is all of the cases. They want you to break it down into the units per case and the number of cases, okay? So in this scenario, let's just say that we have 10 cases, and in each case we have 38 units, all right? And here is one thing that you need to, in your initial kind of conversation with your supplier, when you're getting close to ordering, all right, we want to talk to them about how many units actually fit in each case. Because here's where this kind of comes in, is that you don't want to have, let's say we had really looked at 400 units, and what's going to end up happening is that we didn't actually get those 400 because they don't all fit in cases, and Amazon won't accept basically loops. They all have to be in cases. So you're better off ordering the actual extra 38 instead of 20 to actually fulfill the amount that you actually want. So have that conversation with your supplier as you're kind of going through these negotiations, okay? And that's why I want you to go through all of these steps first before you go and actually take action on all this. The weight below was just because I didn't actually enter that in when we were going through the actual initial product setup, okay? So I just threw something in there, and we're gonna just hit continue because you'll have already done all of this, all right? So now it's at prepare products, all right? So when you actually click this, we're going to go to merchant. Okay, so we're actually going to supply, we're going to prep everything ourselves. All right, we don't want to pay Amazon to go do that. We're doing that, or our freight forwarder is doing that, or a supplier, depending on how we actually go about doing that. Okay, so this is a good spot. You just hit continue here. Just make sure that's merchant. Okay, so here, if they have a barcode, okay, so not required for your plan. So what happens here is, remember when we talked about barcodes, is that we were discussing how you can actually send in your products using just your UPC and not using an FN SKU. And I highly recommend using an FN SKU and not using only UPC, because there's a few reasons. One is, if someone buys your product and they return it, then what happens is that UPC gets thrown with basically everything else. And it could be, they could have used your product, it could have been beat up. You know, there's issues with people pulling the wrong products, but as well as they could resell that product that's already been used with that UPC to somebody else as well. So I always, you know, this is typically what you're going to get, but go to all products right here and select this and then go to merchant. Okay. And what's going to happen is, you want to change this as well to 1, and you're going to go to print labels for this page, and see this right here. This becomes your actual label that you are going to actually send to your supplier via email or your freight forwarder, whoever you're working with for shipping. Okay, so that is one of our first things. Okay, so that right there, we're going to kind of put aside. So as you can see, we're just kind of walking down through this. All right. And, you know, labels, you know, change that, and you're going to send that to them. All right. And then we're going to actually hit continue. So review shipments. All right. So this is where it's going to allow you to kind of go over everything, make sure everything's correct, but we're also going to fill out a few more things. So right here, all right, so this is actually what your shipping plan is going to be called. So I always put my product name, okay, and then I'll put shipping plan. And then I would put, not necessarily putting commas, but I would put the date as well, right? So that's what I would do here, all right? So approve and continue once you have that set up. Now, once this is kind of here, all right, you can see that this is going to Pennsylvania. All right, so that's one thing here, is you can actually start seeing where you're going to ship your items. And this is a common question, is people that, where am I sending this to? How am I going about figuring this out? And that's right here, okay? So optional, ignore this because we're going to do all of that. All right, so we're going to actually now go to work on shipment. So in here, note that you never want to do less than a truckload. You're always going to do small parcel delivery, or SPD, right here, okay? And then in here is going to actually be your carrier. And if you don't know your carrier right now, you can always come back and change this. And in fact, you can actually leave this alone if you don't want to change it. But it's just one thing to note that it's good to put here. So let's just put DHL, right? So this is just one thing that I do want to walk through really quickly, all right? So then come down a little bit lower, and what you're going to see here is everything in one box or multiple boxes, and we're always going to be sending in multiple boxes, right? We're going to enter the same thing before. So units per box configuration, right? So we had 38, and number of boxes, we had 10. All right, so the box weight. So one thing to note right here, we always want to make sure that we're actually using the units of measure that they're provided. So it's very possible that when our suppliers give us our weights or our estimated weights, they're going to be in kilograms, and these are going to be in centimeters. So we always want to convert them and make sure that it's solid, okay? So let's just say this is 20 pounds, you know, and then, you know, actual dimensions, you know, we can make something up. Let's just say it's, you know, I'm going to go very, very standard and just kind of like put in, you know, let's do that, all right? So your supplier will actually provide you with all of this information, okay? So, and if you need to convert these, like, just go to Google. Literally, you can type in, you know, X amount of centimeters to inches, and it will give you those exact measurements, okay? So once we confirm this, the next thing we're gonna come down to is actually print box labels, okay? And this is super important. You always want to have these. So what you're going to get are these right here, okay? And these are actually going to be your master carton labels, okay? So we said 10 boxes, so there's 10 of these total, and you're going to actually send that in an email to your supplier as well. Okay, so then we're going to click complete shipment, and basically what happens here is, as soon as you actually have a tracking number from, you know, let's say it's DHL or FedEx or whoever you're using, you can actually put it in here, and it will track kind of your shipment and where it is. You can also do it, you know, through the third party, through DHL, whatever else too. But as it actually hits an Amazon warehouse and as it's processing, this is where you can kind of come back to. So this is how you ship your products directly to Amazon. All right, guys?